we can read this poem, I'm Afraid of the Daylight. Um, we we read it last week, and it's such a gorgeous poem. Oh, I guess we didn't read this last week. Huh.
Which one is it, Swamiji?
I am afraid of the daylight. Do you
Which
have that there in front of you, Michaela? Can you read
which
it?
page is it on?
I believe on in this Kindle edition, it's page 76, but that'll get you close anyway.
Oh, okay, it's page 76 in the book, too.
Okay. I
You
am.
want to read it?
Yeah, please read it for Swam and myself, and if
Okay.
nobody else comes, we'll just leave it at this one.
I am afraid of the daylight. All these miracles are about to drive me crazy. My elbows, my ears, my nose, my wife snagging, and the sweet darkness of the night, and this blanket existence around my soul, and my heart connected to the pulse of every creature. I am afraid of the daylight. Yesterday, God was everywhere, throwing bliss, balls, planets, and their kin.
Please read it again.
I am afraid of the daylight. All these miracles are about to drive me crazy. My elbows, my ears, my nose, my wife snagging, and the sweet darkness of the night, and this blanket existence around my soul, and my heart connected to the pulse of every creature. I am afraid of the daylight. Yesterday, God was everywhere, throwing bliss, balls, planets, and their kin.
Ah, me. I love the pun on the word blanket. It's just this is himself at his best. This kind of humor, this kind of it's not a sermon, it's just a lovely observation. Either of you have anything else you'd like to say about it?
I just have a question. Why does he say I'm afraid of the daylight? Because he's uh,
It's because of all these miracles
uh,
about to drive him crazy. You know, I mean, in this case, he specifies, "I'm afraid of the daylight." God was everywhere, throwing bliss balls, planets, and their kin. You in other words, when he wakes up,
okay.
he just gets crazy because of all of the. And this is one of the things, if you remember, that Sri Ramakrishna mentions, that sometimes the holy people will just behave like crazy people. They'll just get crazy. And I don't think that he's using this word idly. You know. So that's how I hear it anyway, dear, of why he's afraid of the daylight. When he wakes up, everything that's going on, all of the what he as he calls them miracles, the miracles of existence itself, and this blanket existence around my soul. Oh,
I missed the previous the darkness, sweet darkness of the night. That's I think what confused me, and also I guess I would go crazy too if somebody's nagging I saw as a miracle.
Well, this is the thing. He he just has this ability to see everything in its positive light. I'll just tell you a story from my own experience. I used to be very defensive about some things, particularly about my driving. I was vain about my driving, about how good I was at it. And my late wife was something of a backseat driver. That is to say, she would say, "Do you see that bicycle? The light's about to turn red." Things like that, which I heard as nagging, until it finally occurred to me one day, and this really was a revelation. It occurred to me, what if I didn't see the bicycle? What if I didn't notice that the light was about to turn red? And the other things that she mentioned. And she wasn't ugly about it. She just was expressing her concern and what caused her some concern. The bicycle, the light about it. I just thought, what if I hadn't seen those things? What if I hadn't noticed? Maybe something bad would have happened. So it's good what she's doing. And it just changed everything about our relationship when we were riding in the car together, because I would no longer get huffy about her saying things, you know. And I continued to be vain about my driving, of course, for many years. Uh, Her nickname for me, I don't know if you know the British racing driver that was the world's champion for some time. His name was Sterling Moss, and he was a phenomenally good driver. I mean, just amazing in every way. So her nickname for Mr. Vane behind the wheel was Sterling Mouse, as in Mickey Mouse, Sterling Mouse.
I think that happens to, uh, I think, many couples, including Naveen and myself. Uh, so, how did she react when you used to get quote unquote huffy? Because, Naveen also gets huffy when I tell him, and so now I just don't say anything.
Well, she would react by just getting quiet and not arguing with me. I would say things like, "Yeah, I saw the bicycle. Yeah, I saw the light was going to turn," and just this sharp kind of defensiveness. And so she would just be quiet until it was the next thing that she felt it was necessary for her to say something about it. But what a revelation it was that afternoon when it just dawned on me, what if I hadn't seen these things? What if this is not an offense, but a blessing? And it just changed everything. And it changed the way we were together in the car. We began to enjoy being in the car together uh, and going on long trips together, which before, I'm sure, though she didn't say so much about it, I'm sure that she dreaded because of my getting huffy. So anyway, that's how I heard my wife's nagging here. He's he calls it nagging, but he sees it as something positive. a miracle. And there's a humorous tone about this whole poem. Well, since we've launched into this, is there anything else anybody else wants to say about this poem before we go on? We might as well just go ahead, since we're. Have your eyes cleared up enough, Swayam, that you could read this? How does God keep from fainting?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, since it's just the three of us, so if I like stumble, it just
Well, we'll get huffy.
and I'll take it as a miracle.
Okay, good.
Okay. How does God keep from fainting? The wonder of water moving over that rock in the stream justifies existence. The swish of a horse's tail, again I'm stunned by the grandeur of the unseen one that governs all movement. I resist looking at the palms of my hands sometimes. Have you gotten breathless before a beautiful face? For I see you there, my dear. There is a wonderful problem waiting for you that God and I share. How to keep from fainting when we see each other. In truth, how does God keep from fainting looking at Himself all day? Light is moving like a stream, and the myriad celestial beings applaud.
You didn't stumble at all. That was beautiful reading.
How does God keep from fainting? The wonder of water moving over that rock in the stream justifies existence. The swish of a horse's tail. Again, I'm stunned by the grandeur of the unseen one that governs all movement. I resist looking at the palms of my hands sometimes. Have you ever gotten breathless before a beautiful face? For I see you there, my dear. There is a wonderful problem waiting for you that God and I share. How to keep from fainting when we see each other. In truth, how does God keep from fainting looking at Himself all day? Light is moving like a stream, and the myriad celestial beings applaud.
Hmm.
It's beautiful poetry.
Oh, beautiful poetry. And it's about divine madness and complete surrender to the fact that the divine one, the one, is doing everything, which is what we talked about yesterday. There is only one existence, and the great poets, the great saint poets like Rumi will see the wonder of water moving over that rock in the stream justifies existence. And again, we can think this is not hyperbole. This is not some exaggeration of feeling for effect. This is the divine madness that, as he says later on in the poem, is waiting for us all.
It's just again the words that he uses. Of course, seeing water moving over a rock in a stream is a scene of wonder. Why does he use the word that justifies existence? that if we think deeply, we will connect with that as the existence?
What does the word justify mean? I mean, this is, of course, this is not Rumi's word. This is the word that Daniel Ladinsky chose to communicate to us, interpret for us what Rumi meant. Justifies. We always have this left mind doubt, don't we? We always have this left mind doubt about whether existence is justified or not. Whether, what am I doing here? What is this all about? All these doubts and fears about existence. That's why I think Ladinsky chose the word justifies. Because when we experience something as deeply as a saint will experience this phenomenon of water moving over a rock, and if we look at it, if we hold that thought and call to mind our own experiences of this, we can see that we felt a tinge or a touch of that wonder when we looked at it. It is overwhelmingly beautiful. And then he uses this stream later as the stream of light. So now it's amplified to something larger than just this. But it is that same feeling of something coming at us. But of course, in our ordinary state of mind, we do not yield to the full experience because it feels like madness to do so. It feels like we're being carried away from the practical and and our thoughts and our actions just carry us, hurry us on. We don't stop and just be with that. So, because everything for these saints is something of the heart, the justification comes from the experience. The justification of experience comes from the wonder felt in the heart and in the transcendental side of our being. That's how I read it, dear.
Yeah, now that you explained it, my, I guess, left brain is stretching it a bit, or maybe my right brain is working now, because you were saying that we often, doubt, why am I here?
Oh, here, let me tell my sister I can't talk just now. Janice, I'm in the Monday evening group. I'll call you back. Yes, I did call you earlier. Bye. Thanks. So you were saying,
Yeah,
sorry
I'm
for the
saying
interruption.
that when we started this, when I asked the question, why is using the word justify, and in reply, I heard you say that we have all these doubts about why am I here, why am I existing, um, and so I sort of connected the wonder of water moving over that rock on the stream. I mean, when we see that in nature, it's beautiful, and we just experience the wonder. But the water is kind of like um, soft is not the exact word, but it's gentle, and then it's moving over the rocks, which is hard, and I'm sure there will be bugs floating around, and but we lose ourselves in that beauty. So maybe in life if we lose ourselves in the beauty of existence, then all these thorns and rocks that come in our lives won't make us doubt, why am I here?
You just heard, I think, you just articulated the through line from the last poem to this one, the miracles. Yeah, I think you just articulated that there is a direct connection between the miracles that he's talking about driving him crazy in the previous poem and this miracle of the water moving over the rock. And he's saying that miracle all by itself justifies existence. It doesn't need any justification beyond that, no matter what our left brain says, or how much it wants to hurry us along to the next thing and our practical pursuits.
That's beautiful. Something I can keep in my picture in my mind too as I contemplate.
And then he goes on to another something that most people would just plain ignore: the swish of a horse's tail. The swish of a horse's tail. Now, I don't know how much you two have had an opportunity to be around these barnyard animals, cows, horses, but it really is very something. First of all, it's not unintentional. The horse moving its tail with a swish, it's intentional. They'll even slap you in the face with their tail, quite deliberately, both cows and horses. So again, just this something that seems so ordinary. The swish of a horse's tail, again, I am stunned by the grandeur of the unseen one that governs all movement. So it's the unseen one that justifies all existence.
Yeah, when we went to India back in 2019, we did go to the village that Naveen grew up in, and his cousin still lives there, and he has, I guess, barn with some. Um, they don't have cows. I think it's buffaloes, and he has a dairy farm.
Water buffalo. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were standing and watching, and and when we got there, they were all doing whatever they were doing, and then obviously noticed us, and there was such a change in their behavior, and
Yes.
the squishing of the tail, and it was amazing.
Yes, and if there's a fence, they'll often just come over to the fence. If you're watching them through a fence, they'll come to the fence and watch you from the other side. Yeah, I was very fortunate when I was in high school. We had a Jersey cow, and it was my task to milk her every morning. And it gave me a very different, I'd never, of course, before milked a cow. And it gave me a very different attitude toward this lovely animal and her very calm, patient way of being in the world. Unless your hands were too cold, in which case she'd swish her tail at you. So you always had to warm your hands in a bucket of water that had a certain degree of Clorox in it, so that your hands were sanitary and warm when you milked her. The line that has always puzzled me in this poem is, I resist looking at the palms of my hands sometimes. I've never been able to. Can anyone shed anything light on that? I mean, he follows that by, have you ever gotten breathless before a beautiful face? But in the middle of this is this, I resist looking at the palms of my hands sometimes. Then now the word that comes before that is the one that governs all movement. So I'm wondering, there must be some sort of connection between, we think we move things with our hands. That's the only sense I can make of it. Any thoughts from anyone else?
I don't know, maybe my stretch of imagination. I feel like um, he resists looking at the palm so he won't miss the beautiful face. I mean,
Ah,
he might be, we sometimes tend to do that.
it's
And
self-absorbed. Really good, Swayam. That really strikes a note. I don't look at myself. I've been looking at the stream, the water moving in the stream, the horse's tail, and letting this become the one who governs all movement. I think you hit it. At least you hit something for me. Don't be self-absorbed. You'll miss the beautiful face. Michaela, anything from you about all these things?
Well, it's kind of funny on my part because where it says the swish of the horse's tail,
Yeah.
I have to say that this is the only year of my whole life we moved and we no longer have horses. So
Oh,
I had to think of flies when I read that because I just remember we always had so many flies around the horses and I would get whipped with their tails because they were trying to swoosh off the flies. So
yes.
that's what I thought.
Yes, well,
So I'm
there's
sorry.
no, dear. Of course, well, that's your experience of it. And that is one of the reasons they swish their tails. No two
Yeah, and
ways.
it would sting and they got
Sure.
you. You'd have to move out because I was like, oh, no one could. It whipped.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they do use their tails to whisk away the flies.
but even the way they swish is so graceful.
Yes, it is. It is graceful. There's no two ways about it. I really like the way you heard that I resist looking at the palms of my hands sometimes. Because if I do, there's this wonder of the one that governs all movement, and then there's the wonder that leaves you breathless of a beautiful face. And if you're looking at the palms of your hands, you're not going to notice the beautiful face. Beautiful. Wonderfully, wonderfully read. So you lived with horses all the time growing up, Michaela?
Yes. Yeah, actually, I grew up as a child. You're from California in Hacienda Heights.
Oh my.
Yeah, we had 2.5 acres up there. So we had always, my mom liked Arabians. So we always had Arabians till last year we moved. But we did rescue thoroughbreds.
Aha.
That was really a nice experience too. It was actually, you could say, a spiritual experience because these horses were trained very young and somewhat abused. And
Yes.
my horse, her running name was Heck of a Time because she won everything, but we called her Maggie. So, and to have them start to gain your trust and you gain their trust, and it's just, it was a wonderful experience. I tried to put these principles from Vedanta in with the horses.
Beautiful. Now, Hacienda Heights, where, I can't quite place that, dear. Where is that?
By Whittier, so it's
Oh,
out
sure. Yes. Now I know. Yeah, well,
it's
you
up in the
didn't live,
hills.
yeah, you
Up in,
didn't live very far from where We lived in Glendale.
Yeah. Uh-uh.
Yeah. Yeah, Hacienda Heights, 2.5 acres with horses. What a wonderful thing to do to rescue thoroughbreds, because they'll be put down otherwise. People they just uh, or send them to the knacker.
Yeah, they were beautiful animals, and
Oh yes.
it's I think there's a whole group, I think, of people, especially now that a lot of vets that are coming from trauma and they're connecting with the horses and they does therapy, uh, Mustangs, things like that for the veterans. And it's a spiritual connection because the animal feels you. And
Oh yes.
everybody after school wanted to come to my house after school because we had the horses, so they all wanted to ride whoever they could, and the
Sure.
horse would act up on somebody that it didn't trust because that
Oh,
person's nervous system was, it could feel it.
oh
And,
yes.
and then I'd have another friend and it would get on the horse's back and the horse would be calm. And
Yeah.
so it, it taught me at a young age just kind of how sensitive those animals are. And then I also learned that all the animals on the plant on this earth that have hooves, their hooves actually help to ground the earth. And that's why, like the elephants that they ride in Taiwan, those places, when there's a tsunami, they can feel it. They go up high because they feel it through their hooves. So when you
Yes.
have hooved animals, they're actually grounding your earth that you're on because they're so
Wow.
sensitive.
Yes, they are. Yes, and it was that what a blessed thing to do to rescue those horses and give them a home and give them finally let them be with people who cared for them and they could trust that they didn't have to perform for them, that they were just, oh, it must have been wonderful. Michaela, you might look up in this book, if you haven't already found it, Meister Eckhart's wonderful poem about an old monk going out and uh, feeding a pear to a donkey. And the sensitivity, his sensitivity to the animal and the animal's sensitivity to him is so beautifully portrayed in that poem. It's it's
That's
it's
it's
Meister Eckhart.
okay. I'll have to look that one up. But it, I think it, I think being raised with the horses helped myself grow as a person. So,
Well,
and I just want to share something real quick because I know
please do.
why I'm a nurse. You're a doctor, right? Aren't you a doctor?
Um,
Yeah.
yes, I'm a pediatrician and I'm
Okay.
also retired.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be retired in November, but I was on the every Sunday. I call my oldest son, and he works in the IR in the operating room. He's an IR, and he was crying yesterday on the phone to me because they had a girl come in that was only, he's 30 and she was 6 weeks younger than him. So she was 30, but by 6 weeks, and she had stage 4 colon cancer, but beyond stage 4. So she had 1 month left to live. And my son's single, and he said she was absolutely beautiful. She had, like he said, the way he described her was just like the poems in the book. He said the freckles on her face and the dirty dishwater blonde hair. And so he said they had to get the blood clots out of her legs because of chemo. It was causing her legs to swell. And so they needed to get these blood clots out. And so he said when they woke her up, they told her, okay, we're going to take the trach out of your mouth, or the tube that they put in. And she was playing with them. She bit down on it and was smiling as she woke up. Yeah, and here she's
What a
got
spirit.
she's got 1 month left to live. And then she looked at my son and they caught eyes, and she grabbed his hand because he was, right around the same age. And he said she started flirting with him while she was laying there on the operating table. And so he stayed with her for like 10 minutes, and he said, like almost doing a dance with her fingers onto his. He said he's never had that before. And so he said they were going to wheel her out of the room. And so he just looked at her and he said, Rochelle, it was wonderful being able to take care of you. And thank you for this, moment and letting me take care of you. And I don't know what she said to him, but he said her eyes just locked onto his, like she was looking deep into his soul at that moment, the two of them, the sensitivity. And so they wheeled her out, and so she was supposed to live another month. So he's on call for the emergencies. So he comes in the next day, and the nurse, he said, this very nice, very sensitive Persian nurse that he likes, Sarah, said, did you hear, Kyle? And he said, no, what? He says, Rochelle passed away last night.
Ah, how sweet.
And he said he just started to cry. And she said, go take a walk around the hospital and come back. She gave him a hug. And he said that he was in his mind, because she was flirting with him so much and she knew she was dying. In his mind, he was thinking like that night she had touched him so much there. It was like he was her boyfriend for those 10 minutes.
They
And
were wed. They were wed in those 10 minutes.
he said he was thinking that whole night of how he was going to go into her room and see if he could have permission to maybe read to her a book or sit with her or something. And then she died that fast. But I just exchanged to him that it was love, and that
Yes.
it's all a story. This is a story. It's a dream that we're having. So she wrote him into her dream, and he wrote her into his dream, and they matched that frequency, just like in the horses. It's everything. It's a tone and energy, a frequency, sensitivity. And hopefully from that experience, he can just, grow from it. I told him, I said, well, maybe you should write. He likes to write songs. I said, maybe you should write some lyrics to it, or
Oh,
music.
yes.
And then, because the nurse's name was Sarah, the song came in my head, Sarah Smile from Dara Hall and Oates. You know that one, Sarah Smile. And then there was another song that they did that said, Wait for Me. And so when I saw the lyrics, it actually was talking, you could take it different ways, but it was talking about death and wait for me. And I just thought it was kind of appropriate for him and beautiful, because she wanted to know, to exchange that love, that feeling, a flirtation before she left the planet, of that love exchange.
Yes.
What a touching story. I missed, where does your son work and what exactly is he?
He's IR, interventional radiology,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
IR, and they're the special forces of the hospital. He works in the trauma department at a hospital in Orange County, and he's on call, and they basically remove blood clots, aneurysms out of people's body and brains and lungs, all of that. They coil it off, do all that.
Yeah, it's getting more and more rare to get that kind of compassionate caregiver. So I applaud him and wish him all the best. And I wish,
Yes.
it's amazing. Tell him I
Well,
said thank you. And
you're
So thank you.
Michele, that young man has some kind of wonderful future. For him to be able to to be that present with her and exchange what they exchanged says so much about him. Oh, what a lovely story.
Well, she knew she only had a month left to live and she was very young. And for her to be playing when she woke up out of surgery, because you have to wake them up after
Sure.
anesthesia, for
Sure.
her to bite down on the, they said, oh, we have to take the tube out of your throat, for her to bite down and smile. She had already accepted her physical death at that point. And at that point, she was going to play with people that were coming into her
That,
part, the end of the dream.
that she could play with, yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
who knows, there's so many stories now that are being published about what people are actually experiencing in the periods before they die. And who knows what it is that she was seeing, that she was experiencing, that allowed her to be who she was in those moments before she slipped away. And you can say in a way that certainly it rises up for me that your son fulfilled something for her that helped release her, that there was this love immediately and tangibly available.
Yeah, that's what I felt too. Like, because she's young, she wanted to feel that love, that she was still attractive, that she could still flirt, that she could still entice someone, attract the love like
Yes.
it's love.
It's like Hafiz says in one of his poems, let's admit it, we all want to be loved. We can't say anything about it out loud because somebody'd call the cops.
Yeah.
It's in one of Hafiz's poems that's in this book. It's a priceless poem, just priceless, as so many of these are. Well, can you read the next one for us, Swayam? Belly dancer?
Sure, Brother Shankar. Belly dancer. Most poets are like a belly dancer who never reveal anything below her waist. I won't tease you like that, for I love when your eyes get excited. Belly dancer. Most poets are like a belly dancer who never reveals anything below her waist. I won't tease you like that, for I love when your eyes get excited.
Yes. I tell you, there's just such a deep vein of humor in this wonderful Rumi. Such a deep vein of humor. Yep. He says, I'll be vulnerable, which lets you be vulnerable too. And you'll notice that the word excited is erect. So funny, Ladinsky. So funny. Anything else from either of you about this? It just seems very apropos to the story that Michaela just told.
I was just thinking of that too. That
Yeah. Their eyes got excited with one another. she was willing to be vulnerable, and so was he. Anything from you, Michaela, about this one?
No, it made me think about that, but too, it's kind of like on a spiritual sense too. I won't. That never. It says most poets are like a belly dancer who never reveals anything below her waist. So it's kind of like, I mean, it's a very sensual type poem, but you can also put it in the spiritual sense that all your like learning or experiences at life that bring you to that level where you get very excited spiritually or you get an aha moment, it's not, you're still not there below the waist, her waist, it's saying, but you're not there saying at that point yet.
Yeah, nicely said. So, Michaela, can you read the poem One Day When the Wind is Perfect?
Yes. On a day when the wind is perfect, on a day when the wind is perfect, the sail just needs to open and the world is full of beauty. Today is such a day. My eyes are like the sun that makes promises, the promise of life that it always keeps each morning. The living heart gives to us, as does that luminous sphere. Both caress the earth with great tenderness. There is a breeze that can enter the soul. This love I know plays a drum. Arms move around me. Who can contain their self before my beauty? Peace is wonderful, but ecstatic dance is more fun and less narcissistic. Gregarious, he makes our lips. On a day when the wind is perfect, on a day when the wind is perfect, the sail just needs to open and the world is full of beauty. Today is such a day. My eyes are like the sun that makes promises, the promise of life that it always keeps each morning. The living heart gives to us, as does that luminous sphere. Both caress the earth with great tenderness. There is a breeze that can enter the soul. This love I know plays a drum. Arms move around me. Who can contain their self but my beauty?
Before my beauty.
Oh, before my beauty, sorry. Peace is wonderful, but ecstatic dance is more fun and less narcissistic. Gregarious, he makes our lips.
But there's more. There's another stanza.
A whole nother, oh, sorry. Okay. On the next page, right?
Right?
On a day when the wind is perfect, the sail just needs to open and the love starts. Today is such a day.
Yeah.
On a day when the wind is perfect, the sail just needs to open and the love starts. Today is such a day.
Yes.
Brother Shankar,
Yes, dear.
it's where it says there is a breeze that can enter the soul. This love I know plays a drum. Arm moves around me. Who can contain their self before my beauty? I reflected this as to the heart. So you're on a sail, and the breeze, and you're out on the ocean, and so much the love, because the heart is like a drum beat. It's similar. In Native American, it's the energy of the heart. They say it's healing towards the heart to play the drums in the Native American. So it has a
And if
similar
you
tone.
listen to them play the drums, you will know what they mean. It's one of the things that can bring you to tears if you just stand and just listen, and to their way of singing.
And then
If you've never been to a powwow, which is the way it's properly pronounced, powwow. They say powwow. I mean, that's the way it's transliterated. But it's powwow, which means gathering sacred. Powwow. Hua means sacred. Pa means gathering. Powwow. If you've never been to a powwow and you see there's one that is accessible to you, I cannot recommend highly enough that you go and just observe, just watch. Watch the singing, the drumming, the dancing. There's a lot that goes on at a powwow, but primarily it is those three things. And at least that's the public part of it. But it is very moving indeed. And to see the young people who have learned to dance. You know, there's the very young, the young children that are still learning. They're great fun to watch. But the young people who, I don't know, they're in their teens, early 20s, whatever, they've learned the meaning of dancing.
Brother Shankara,
Yes.
when I read that stanza where it says, peace is wonderful, but ecstatic dance is more fun and less narcissistic, gregarious he makes our lips. I take that, as one of the ways that he describes where, like some people prefer the path of devotion or bhakti, which is so much more, fun, because you dance with the divine and you have that relationship. Um, it's less narcissistic. I mean, peace, attaining, the enlightenment or that. Yes, of course, we all want to reach there, but this is more fun too to take the scenic route.
Nicely said. The scenic route. Yes, indeed. I much, from personal, much prefer the scenic route. Yes. Yes, much prefer the scenic route. And it is along that route that my teacher led me. Yes, Michaela.
Oh, I was just going to say to what Swayam was saying, where he says that but ecstatic dance is more fun and less narcissistic. It made me think of the dancers at the powwows, what you were talking about, and how they really are. There's different dances that have different meanings, like a medicine dance and that. And he says less narcissistic because to me, where you said peace is wonderful. So a lot of people go into, I've got to meditate, I've got to do this and this and this, but they don't see that like they also have responsibilities towards their family and that to go into that's kind of narcissistic, that just doing the dance is being a part of life, and it's flowing with life, like the dance of life, and you're not, so it's not as narcissistic as just saying, I've got to go do this, you know. I mean, that's the way I took it. You
Well,
can take it different ways.
like has been said over and over, Michaela, there is no right way to read these poems. There is no right reading. There's each one of us being completely individual and completely infinite is going to hear these from our own being. And so, absolutely what you said, I hear you all the way. I think we're going to have to leave it there. It's 8:28, 8:29. Anything else? I love the line, gregarious, he makes our lips. Mhm. We're more likely to kiss if we're not sitting alone on a cushion.
Mhm.
Or as you said, Michele, lock eyes with someone and exchange something very profound. The love starts. Today is such a day.
And every day is such a day because every day is today in the morning. So,
Exactly. All right. So this will be it until September. Uh, I have to say I will miss these Monday nights, but on the other hand, I'm very much looking forward to being able just to arrange my time and as I said to Michele before you came on, so I am to paraphrase Mae West, so many books, so little time. Yeah,
I
so,
mean, that is so true for all of us.
Oh, she was great.
yeah, she was. Yeah, she and W.C. Fields had such fun with one another. He said he never had any experience of any kind, like acting with a great deal of what they did in their films was improvised on in the moment. And he said it was, she was just more fun than the law allows. I'm going to tell you a little story if you haven't heard it. It is fun. Um, one of W.C. Fields' friends, closest friends, was John Barrymore. And at the end of his life, uh, W.C. Fields was bedridden. And so his friends were coming to see him. And his friends called him Bill, you know. And so Barrymore came into Fields's room and found him reading a Bible. And Fields had always been this famous atheist. You know, he didn't profess any spiritual. Of course, it wasn't, well, as we'll see. So Barrymore said to him, Bill, what are you doing reading that book? And Fields said, looking for loopholes. Looking for loopholes. Yeah. So, yeah. What a crowd those people were. If you haven't ever seen W.C. Fields juggle 12 cigar boxes, You can go on YouTube and just put in the search window W.C. Fields juggling, and you'll find a number of things come up. Watch whatever you like, but he really does juggle 12 cigar boxes, open cigar boxes.
Wow.
And
Take a look at that.
just to show that they really are not all tied together and so on. He, in the beginning, he starts juggling them, and then he deliberately, of course it doesn't look deliberate, but he deliberately, they fall all over the floor. And of course they scatter in every direction. And then he picks them up one by one and then begins to juggle them. Oh, it's like Steve Martin said, if you want to succeed in this show business, be so good you can't be ignored. Steve Martin said that because young people, he said, always coming to him saying, "Oh, how do you do it, Mr. Martin? How do you succeed in this business?" He says, they're looking for tips and techniques. He says, I share with them what tips and techniques I have. But then I tell them what most of them really don't want to hear. Be so good, you can't be ignored. And what does that mean? Practice, 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 practice. And so we can carry that right into our spiritual life. Be so good, you can't be ignored. Practice, practice, practice. So, dear ones, any final thoughts from either of you? And Michele, thank you for sharing that story about your son. And please, when you talk to him next, please tell him that you did share that story with us. And it touched, and I can speak for both Swam and myself. It touched us
Absolutely.
deeply.
Yes,
I,
I will.
I almost feel like requesting Michele to show a picture of her son. He writes too.
Yeah,
Well, maybe next time.
maybe next time. Yeah, I have a picture of him in his little operating cap. he's he's grown up with Vedanta, and he's been to the Vedanta Ramakrishna in Trabuco Canyon. He likes
Oh,
that.
yes,
Yeah.
in Orange County, it would be very easy for him to get there.
That's where he would meet me sometimes, and on Mother's Day I want to go there. And he went to the 4th of July
Oh, yes. Well, then
celebration when they had it. They used to have it. Now with COVID, it's no
well,
more.
I think they had one this last year. I think they actually did have a 4th of July this year. I think.
Oh, if it was, I
wouldn't
don't
swear
think they
to
had.
it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of closed there right now.
Is it? Okay. Well, I thought they had, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway,
Yeah.
well,
I
I'm
was
real glad that he has that connection,
right.
because it's
So,
it is deepening. Yeah, the
Michele,
next time.
my niece lives in Orange County, so maybe when I visit her, I'll see if I get in touch with you and get his number or something.
Oh yeah,
He sounds
yeah,
so wonderful that I do feel like I would love to meet
that
him.
would be nice. Yeah, we could all meet. Maybe meet if they open it up. There's a beautiful walking trail that
Yes,
they have at the monastery there.
shrine trail. Yeah.
Shrine. And the bookstore is wonderful. And the monks sell honey and some other things that they have beehives there.
Yeah.
I
So,
was
Michele,
fortunate enough.
where do you live now, Michele?
Sun City West in Phoenix.
Oh, I see. I thought you were closer than that. My goodness. So do you ever go to the Phoenix Center?
The ashram, but she only has it really open once a month for the readings of Ramakrishna, which will be this Saturday, and I'm going at
Uh,
7.
Well, when you see a Kandaprana,
I will. I'll see her Saturday. I have to bring food. So
well,
yeah,
bless your heart, dear, and give her my love.
I
It's been
will.
a long time since I talked to her, but tell her that her name came up in our discussion and give her my love because she's so dear.
She's
And
very, very sweet. I told her I was attending her classes online.
oh,
But
good.
because but she's not very good with the computer. So hopefully in the future, it'll
No,
expand more. It's kind of
Akanda,
small right now.
Akanda Prana has never been good with the electronics. It's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but I
can.
will I will give her your
Oh, please
love and
give her
greetings this
give her
Saturday.
my loving pranams and my personal love and salutations. Uh, she's been doing that job there for a long time and doing a good job. So I'm glad you're going to see her this Saturday. How lovely.
Yeah,
Well,
I was initiated there from she said was the one who set it up for me was Swami Sarvadivananda.
oh, how lovely. Well, you and Swayam are guru bhais then,
Oh,
because
wow.
because Swayam is also his chela, as is her husband Naveen.
Oh, nice.
And we were lucky to be initiated at the Trabuco Monastery.
Oh, you were initiated in Trabuco.
Yes.
Wow.
That is such a lovely shrine.
Oh my gosh. I love that place. So the whole building, wasn't it taken from a monastery over in Spain or Italy, I think, from the 1950s. It was done after that.
Yes,
It
it
was
was.
built in the
Well,
1950s.
actually, it was originally a kiva, a southwestern Indian kiva, and it was much deeper than it is now. But during Swami Prabhavananda's day, while he was still alive, somebody fell, and they in the dark in there, they fell rather than they missed the ladder and fell. And so he said, "That's that. We're not doing this. We're not having this as a kiva anymore. We're making it." And so they raised the floor, and so at least that's the way I understood it from Swami Tadatmananda, who was the head of the Trabuco Monastery for many years. He was the painter Swami.
Oh, I met him when he was alive. Yeah.
You did. You've been
Mhm.
going a long time then,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's been.
I'm an oldie. Yeah.
So do you know Arupeshananda also, the the Swami that is now living out at Pinyon Hills and taking care of his mother Sita?
If he was there, I might have
Oh,
known him.
you if
I
you
used to live I lived in Orange County for a short while, and then now I go out to Orange. I go there. I try every 2 months to drive from Arizona to California to see my kids. So
good.
yeah.
Well, Arupeshananda was the one who took care of Tadatmananda as he left the body. So
Okay.
you've encountered him. Uh, if you go on the Vedanta Society of Southern California's website,
Uh-huh.
and Swayam, you would enjoy this too. Uh, Arupeshananda got his PhD from UCLA in
Mm-hmm.
quantum physics. He then became a monk, but his heart is still very much involved with science, his heart and mind. So this, I don't remember, it was Sunday before last, I guess, just a week ago Sunday. He delivered a talk in Santa Barbara, and the title of the talk is Blob Yoga, B-L-O-B, Blob. And it will absolutely astound you. So just go on the Vedanta Society of Southern California's YouTube channel and put in Blob Yoga, and it'll come right up.
Okay. I
It
will.
is purely awesome.
I think I have listened to some of his talks here
Arup,
and there. But I'm
Arupeshananda,
yes.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Because I get the newsletter also from the Vedanta Society of Southern California. So
Uh-huh. Right.
when I find it interesting topic, but I will definitely look this one up.
Blob yoga.
Thank you. Yeah.
You'll be very surprised by what you hear. And he's so funny. He's just so lighthearted and funny. He's our kind of guy.
That's great.
So good night to you both. And Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. And may we go forward in Thakur Ma's loving and protective embrace. Jai, Jai, Jai. And by the way, when your guru was here in the middle of May, he was just transcendently wonderful.
Yes.
He was just, for 2 days, he talked and talked and talked to people. He initiated 9 people while he was here. And and his calendar was full in those 2 days, the 17th and the 18th, with talking to people. And before, during, and after, he was just the soul of sweetness, jollity. I mean, you have some kind of really very transcendently wonderful guru there. And I've known him since 1993. He has just grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. It just shows what that life does.
Yes.
Yes, and we consider ourselves so blessed to have been able to bring him and take him back to the airport and have that
Yes.
one-on-one time. So
Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. So a sweet good night to you both.
Night.
As Jackie Gleason used to say, and away we go.
good night.
I used to watch that. Okay.
Oh,
Away
yeah.
we go. Bye.
Away we go.